Hey, hi everybody. Let's see. Welcome to the Aim High Show. My name is Arif, and today I've got an exciting lineup of guests. I'm going to quickly introduce them in a very short period of time. But before we do that, I just want to make sure that we have got all our viewers on. Whether you've joined on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you've joined from, I want to know. So, first thing I want you to do is if you are joining us um, from YouTube, could you just give us a comment on the below to say that you joined us from YouTube? I just want to check if the systems are working, guys, and then we'll fire right in. Okay, so in the comments, just write down where you are joining from. Okay, so we've got Louise, we've got Bissy, we've got okay, keep going. Okay, keep going, guys. Otherwise, I won't know. Yes, Mohassan YouTube. Louis, yeah, keep going. If you just, the more you write, the better it is, because then I'll know if it's working. If you're joining from Facebook, again, just give us a comment saying that you've joined from Facebook. If you joined from Instagram, wherever you joined from, please let us know, and then I'll know that the system's working. We've got some Facebook Italian Warriors. That's a top name. YouTube, keep them coming. Memuna from YouTube. So we've got quite a lot of people from YouTube. So I've overlaid it so you can see where people are joining in from. So let's give you a few more seconds, and then I'll do a quick introduction. Wait for everybody to come on. We have got quite a lot of people joining, and whether you're joining live or on replay, you're going to have a fantastic 1 hour over the next over the next 60 minutes with our amazing guests. So let's see who we've got. We've got lots of people from YouTube. YouTube is our common one, then, isn't it? Okay, so let's get this show on the road. Hi guys, my name is Arif Mohid, and I'm the founder of Aim High Tuition. And today we are launching our very first show, and it's called the Aim High with Arif Show, and it's going to be a career in the medical field. We're going to be talking to two amazing doctors, two amazing, very young doctors who have recently started the profession, and we're going to try and help you aspiring doctors out there to get a bit of an became doctors and what they do on a daily basis, and hopefully give you some inspiration and advice along the way. So if you are joining us just now, guys, in the comments, I want you to just write down which part of the UK or which part of the world you're joining from. I believe we've got people from, and we've got a handful of people across the globe. So whilst we wait for a few more people to join, please write down where you are joining our live stream from. So let's have a look. Give you a few more seconds. Greater Manchester, yep. So the Abdullah Quilliam Society from Greater Manchester, brilliant. BC Babs, UK. Which part of the UK? Okay, we've got Avery from Manchester. Coventry. Yep, Louise from Chariton. Nice and local there. Greater Manchester, Oldham, Cameron. Nice to have you on board. Liverpool, yeah. So we've got lots of different people. Hadfield, Mamuna. Okay, perfect. London. Have we got anyone from up north Scotland? Do we have any of our Scottish friends? Leicester, kind of close to Scotland. Oldham. Okay, so we've got a wide variety of guests. So if you just joined us, guys, quick introduction. My name is Arif, and today we're going to be interviewing two amazing doctors who are going to inspire you and hopefully your child or your children, whoever's watching, to pursue a path in the medical field, or even if you're not sure about what field to go into, to give you some sort of an inspiration on maybe which direction you can go in. And just to give you a reason why we're doing this, so at Aim High Tuition, what we realized was a lot of our students were very good. They were very good at what they're doing. They're making fantastic progress. But when we went and asked them, what do you want to do as a career? They'll just shrug their shoulders. Yeah, I'm sure many parents, if you're watching from here, you know that this is quite a common thing. A lot of our children, they don't have a direction, they don't have a focus, and they just don't have any guidance to get to where they want. I had to think about this, and a few other people inspired me as well when I realized that what would I have wanted as a child to get that direction. Okay, academics is fine. I know I'm going to school, I'm getting tuition or whatever it is, I'm getting that, but how can I get that inspiration or that direction from somebody else who is in a particular career field? And this is where this show came about from. So today we're going to be speaking to doctors. Our plan is to speak to a huge variety of people in different professions, whether it's your usual doctors, accountants, dentists, the more common ones, but also we want to get some advice from you to explore other career fields, whether it's in media, whether it's in digital marketing, or in the art field. So we will be asking you questions for you to give us some sort of inspiration of how we should take this show in the future as well. Okay. So anyway, without further ado, I think we've got our most of our guests on, and well done for joining. So thank you very much. Firstly, so we've got, like I said, two wonderful doctors that are going to be, that are very passionate, and I'm going to quickly get them on to the screen so that they can introduce themselves. We'll start with Dr. Taslima Begum and then follow on to Dr. Fazana. So, Taslima, can I call you Taslima? I'll call you Dr. Taslima. Yeah, just give us a little bit of an update. Where are you from? No.
Okay. So, as you can see, my name on is Dr. Taslima Begum, but Taslima is fine. Most of my friends call me Taz, and I'm hoping this is going to be kind of a friendly, kind of informal chat, because I don't want people to feel intimidated, because the whole aim is to kind of answer questions and give people an insight into what we do and kind of our lives. So Taslima is absolutely fine. So what do I do? Yeah, obviously I'm a medical doctor. I think some of the questions you can ask us later will kind of take us into how we got to where we are today. But at the moment, in terms of my job, I'm working in a GP practice. So I see everything and anybody on a daily basis. And I'm almost finishing my training. So we'll touch on all those things. And I've been working, well, technically I've been a doctor for 10 years. I've had time out in that time to do various other things, have kids, things like that. So again, we'll probably touch on those things. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And Dr. Fazana, off you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Farah. You can call me Farah. All my friends call me Farah. And just like Taslima, also a GP trainee. I've got various different hats. So I'm a GP trainee with special interest in women's health. So I've done specialist, other degrees, etc., to specialize in that particular field because I'm really passionate about women's health. I also examine for medical schools, and that's Manchester, sometimes Liverpool. I interview for Manchester Medical School. I also work for the GMC. I examine for examination called PLAB, which any international medical graduates have to sit to get their license. So I've got lots of different hats. I also run a charitable organization which is run by doctors, and that we help in the community, etc., to promote medical topics. So yeah, I do lots of stuff, and currently I'm actually on maternity leave. I've just had a little girl. She's 10 months, so yeah, I go back to work soon. But yeah, that's about me. I think we'll talk more about what our role specifically later.
Fantastic. That's brilliant. You're already such a busy person alongside having a new child. Congratulations, by the way. So thanks, guys. Thanks for that introduction. I'm gonna break this show down into a few parts. So the first part is going to be about your early inspirations of wanting to become a doctor, the educational path you chose and the challenges you faced, the work-life balance of being a doctor, because I know it's not as easy as people make out to be. The skills and qualities and what advice you would give to aspiring doctors. We've got a lot of our students that have also joined who want to get into the medical field, and also, what's the future of medicines, and how do we deal with these setbacks? And lastly, I'm going to open it up to all our wonderful guests, not guests, our wonderful audience, where they'll be able to ask you whatever questions they want. And if you get time, I might throw in a little quiz. We'll see how we get on. So we'll start off with your early inspiration. Taslima, I'll start with you. Your early inspirations. What actually inspired you to pursue a career in medicine, and what were the key moments in your childhood or schooling, should I say, that sparked that interest in medicine?
So that's like a really key question. And whenever you apply to medical school, that's what they're going to want to know. And it's probably the thing that everybody prepares for when they prepare for interviews. To be honest, I didn't have anything major. Like a lot of people might have something that's happened in their family, or something that they've experienced themselves, or an experience where they kind of seen a doctor in action. I didn't have any of those things. Mine was, to be honest, pretty typical of a lot of parents. My dad essentially kind of ingrained me and indoctrinated me, possibly as a child, to say, I think you should be a doctor. And that's kind of all I've ever known. I didn't really ever question it. And for me personally, I think it's probably the best decision ever, because I'm very happy in that choice. And in terms of inspirations, I think a lot of it was my dad. Like, he kind of gave me the vision and said, I think you should be a doctor. And I kind of just took that on board. And as I went through primary school, secondary school, that was kind of my focus. I spoke to lots of different people doing lots of different jobs, but ultimately, everything that I kind of wanted in my life, my job, or anything that I was interested in, academics or subjects, it all kind of just fitted into it. And I kind of realized, actually, initially, yes, my dad was like directed me towards it, but I learned myself about myself, what kind of a person I am, and it all kind of just fitted in. And a lot of the inspiration for me, I didn't know many doctors, didn't know many people in the field, so it would be essentially family members and teachers. And I think teachers are key. And a lot of my teachers were very encouraging. And I've heard of the people where maybe they can get put off, but I was really lucky in the sense that my teachers really inspired me to say, we believe in you, we think you can do it. Because at that time, I didn't really know anybody who had gone to medical school. So I think having that kind of other people believing in you and giving you that inspiration and pushing you forward, for me, that was, I have to give a gratitude to those people to kind of make me then believe in myself. And obviously, as you become a teenager and you explore your options, going out into universities, and then, meeting a few doctors when I was about 16, kind of just to get an idea and seeing what they do. That was kind of my inspiration. And I think people have a lot of ideas of what doctors do, and that's probably because there is no one kind of specific thing. Doctors can essentially do anything, and I think that's what I realized. And for me, that was the inspiration, that you can be a doctor and you can do absolutely anything. And when I realized that, to be honest, I don't really want to do anything else except be a doctor.
Okay.
So for me,
thank you for that response. One thing that resonated with me, and we see this quite a lot with parents that we work with, is you mentioned your dad, how he had a key input, but there are a lot of parents who may not be familiar with the medical field. And I know your dad, he had no educational background, if you don't mind me saying. So there are a lot of parents that are in a similar situation, never been to university.
I think what I find is, obviously, my parents are first generation immigrants, and I think that makes a difference for us. And when the way we see the world and with the way they see the world, it is a little bit different. And for me, I think I'm the eldest, and my dad, he was educated in Bangladesh. He went to college. He was academic, but didn't kind of go into higher education there, and then came to the UK. And for him, I think he kind of saw it as we're very privileged to be here, to have this education where you're encouraged to go to school is the law. A lot of people don't even get a chance to go to school in certain places, and I think they come from that mindset where and when I was very young, the thing that I remember he said to me, and that's what pushed, even to this day keeps pushing me forward, is he said, when you're given opportunities on a plate like this, and you're in a position where things are so available to you, if you don't make the most of it, it's just a complete shame. And I think that's where his inspiration for me came, where he just aimed high and said, for him, that's what they know. Everybody kind of feels like being a doctor is something that they saw as a high aspiration, and he just kind of put that into my head. And so it's not all, there's loads of amazing people doing all sorts of amazing things, but for him, that was it. And for me, it fitted into the kind of person and personality, and it just worked. So my advice to people would be, when people, I don't want to say like just listen to and do what your parents say, because there's no point of doing that. Absolutely not. It's got to be something that fits you, that fits with your interests. But I would say, be open-minded and take advice of the people around you, whether that's parents, teachers. Don't be closed-minded. Listen to what they've got to say, and then evaluate it. You've got to be that kind of a mature, personality where you listen to what people say. Does it resonate with you? If not, have an open conversation, explore different things. That's absolutely fine. But I think,
okay, thank you so much for all that. It really, there's a load of good nuggets there, and I'm sure a lot of parents are going to find that really helpful as well as students. Farah, or Farah, I'll call you Farah. I'm going to keep it informal. So tell me, so I'm going to, give you the same question. What were your early inspirations of wanting to become a doctor?
So a lot of things that Taslima said kind of resonated with me, but my journey was kind of very different. So I'm actually a first generation immigrant myself. So we moved from Bangladesh when I was 11 years of age. So my story begins when my dad suddenly passed away when I was only 8 and my brother was only 2. My mom was an academic. She was a professor for university, and she actually migrated here as a highly skilled migrant to be a professor here. So we actually lived in London first, and then we moved to Manchester. But that was so I come from an academic background, I would say. So my mom was very kind of strict with education, good school, good grades, all of that. But I would say I never really had a role model in my family in terms of a career in medicine. And often some of the experiences, one of the things, I don't really want to go into it much, but my dad did pass away because of medical negligence. So I had a lot of resentment towards medicine in a way, and doctors. But obviously, as a young child, that's how my mind was molded. So I kind of really stayed away from anything to do with medicine or a career in medicine. I just thought it's not something that I ever wanted to be part of. So I was kind of a rebellious child. But I think my mom did probably want me to go into a professional career, she would say. But I was a very artsy child. I loved art, and I wanted to be either an artist or or do architecture. I actually had all plans to be an architect. So as I went through school, I did all sciences, etc. I had all good grades, and I did all sciences in university. In college in sixth form. But I was still in the mindset that I will probably pursue a career in architecture or something to do with art. Then I took up all the science, because you still need physics and maths and etc. stuff like that to do architecture, really. So I was kind of had all my eggs in that basket until I spoke. So I think from my kind of journey, what you need to take away is when your children, if you're watching it for your kids, or if you are currently in sixth form and are thinking of applying for medicine or whatever career, that whether that's pharmacy, dentistry, medicine, I need you to talk to people that are in the field. So one of the main thing that I did was talk to lots of architects or people that were studying architecture. And I realized that kind of lonesome, individualistic work isn't really for me. I've been a very social person all my life. I love to chat. I love to help people. I love to be part of groups. So that career at the end of the day didn't really fit what I was looking for. And then everything changed because time was kind of running out. I was still making a decision what to do with my life, if that makes sense. So I spoke to a lot of medics, and I had a lot of inspiration from a lot of doctors. And eventually I decided, no, it is something that is probably, something that I kind of steered away from, but probably is best suited to my personality, and is absolutely the best decision I have ever made, just like Taslima have said. And there was a lot of inspiration from my mum, and she really did want me to be a doctor. And I guess that inspiration kind of flowed because my brother's also a doctor. I was the first one in my family who is a doctor, and now I've got lots of cousins and etc. etc. People are coming into the field because we've made it seem almost a career that's now accessible, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of the times when we were young, especially coming from a widening participation background, so I live in Oldham, and you don't really see people who are doctors, dentists regularly that come from your school or sixth form or etc. So you don't really have that aspirational figure to look up to. You don't think these kind of careers are achievable. So I think it takes time in order to build that self-confidence that you're good enough. and it is as accessible to you just as much as it is to someone else. So yeah, I think it took time to get there, but I eventually found my route, and yeah, excelling in
Thank you so much for that. You've both given me it's very similar. Your stories are very similar in different ways. One of the key things that run through your explanation is that the importance of parents and how they've had some sort of impact, whether your parents were educated or were not educated. Those were key contributing factors towards your inspiration, and it's really nice to hear that. And a lot of parents nowadays, I shouldn't say nowadays, but a lot of parents are not sure. They don't know how to guide their children. It's situations like this we should expose them to more often. Like, for example, the fact that we've got today's event, because a key word that you both mentioned was mentorship, or having somebody, speaking to somebody in that field and getting an insight. So that's absolutely huge, and that's something that isn't always possible. And you're both from Oldham, and people that know Oldham, it's not always been in the news for the best things, but we do produce some amazing inspirational people. And one of my aims, I aim high, and although the projects I want to do is to bring that to the fore so that we can inspire the next generation of people. And just like you got some sort of inspiration and guidance from somebody else, we want to do the same in all other fields for all the young people across the country.
I think what Farah said about now that when you see the people and doing the particular jobs and fields, it almost automatically feels accessible. And I think that what she said for me feels like, because nowadays, I do find a lot of people are doing great jobs. It's not just us. There's so many people out there, and it is becoming more and more. Kids, when you ask them, there are a lot of people who want to aspire to these careers because it feels more accessible to them. But I think when we were younger, I didn't know anybody, but I think now it's as soon as you meet somebody who and have spoken to with whatever career it is, it just automatically feels like, what, maybe I could do this. And I think that's the importance of things like this, where we cover not just medicine, but anything else where you might not know anybody to just make these networks. I think that's probably the key thing, is speaking.
I think it's also just exposure, like you said. So exposure to lots of things, and keeping an open mind. So not pigeonholing yourself to one career. So that's why I explored lots of different things. It's almost harder to guide a young child who has lots of different interests rather than just good at one thing. So because I wanted to do lots of things, and it was hard for me to find exactly what my niche was, what my future career should be. And I think in a way, medical school here, you go straight from sixth form to medical school, whereas somewhere like America, for example, you do a different degree. So you do another degree, so you do something called pre-med, and then you apply for medicine. So you're actually doing medicine as a mature student, because it does need that maturity, if that makes sense. I think it is a lot to ask from a 17, 18-year-old to make a decision about their whole career. So it is as informed as it should, it should be an informed choice and a decision that you make, and you should aid your child or yourself to get that best sort of.
I think it's also in the same token, the fact that it's such a big decision, because as soon as you enter medical school, you're on a roller coaster treadmill, and the whole life is basically set out in front of you, and you're just jumping from one stage to the next, which is also a good thing, but can also be a bad thing, because you just don't know anything else essentially after that. But the good thing about medicine, and this is about inspiring people who want to do medicine, is if you do medicine in university as a degree, you can do absolutely anything with your life. You can be a doctor and do stuff, or you can not be a doctor and do something. But medicine as a degree, if anybody thinks they want to do it, I would never dissuade anybody, because you can do what you want with your life with it. So you can do lots of different things in whatever field. It doesn't have to be science.
So we do have a lot of people from different that they may not necessarily know which field they want to go into in medicine. So for example, Louise mentioned in the chat, I'm just reading the chat, that you want to be a paramedic, and all the skills that you learn, wanting to become a doctor or medic, they're all transferable, and you can learn the key skills from that as well. So what I want to bring you guys onto is my next question before you start answering it indirectly, is the educational path, because again, I'm just reading through some of the questions. Some people are asking me about college, what uni you would recommend, and those sort of the more like the educational path. So what I'm going to ask you now is, what can you just walk us through your educational journey? So let's say I'll start with Farah then on this one.
Yeah.
What was your educational journey like? For example, from school to college to uni. What did you choose? Which subjects did you choose, and what did you need to do? And then
Yeah, so school, this is going to sound a bit ridiculous, but so I went to not the greatest school in Oldham. It's probably, I don't know if it's got a good reputation now, but anyway, it's not saying much about it. But because my school never had a good reputation, they made us sit a lot of the key GCSEs in year nine. So there was a handful of us that ended up getting A stars in year nine. So we ended up doing 18 GCSEs. So I did do 18 GCSEs.
okay.
And so please, this is not the norm at all. And I always feel really bad saying that. This is not an aspirational thing whatsoever. There was just a lot of things I did, and it just, just fell in that nature by itself. But anyways, yes, so I did 18 GCSEs, which obviously included all the sciences, maths, all of this, your standard. And I had about 10 A stars and 8 A's. And then I went into sixth form. Actually chose 5 A levels first, but ended up dropping 2. And one of them, no shock, was art. But I did biology, chemistry, psychology, art, and maths. And I ended up dropping maths and art in the first year, and then carried on with biology, chemistry, and psychology. So had my grades, applied to medical schools, had 3 different medical school offers, ended up choosing Manchester just to be near home. And yeah, that was my journey.
Good. And so you said you did biology, chemistry, psychology?
Psychology, yeah,
Psychology,
maths
yeah. So,
and art.
so
But
I
I
mean, I'm just asking in the chat. So you mentioned psychology. Does it relate to the medicine career? And in my opinion, it does, because there's a lot of people that have done psychology. They go through that route. As long as you've got some solid subjects that you're taking, some academic solid subjects, you'll be fine. And you need to. Am I right in saying you have to have chemistry? That's like
Yeah, so you have to have, so a lot of the unis want one core science, which now they've made in chemistry essentially.
okay.
And then you can either do biology, physics, or maths. They all count as a science degree, if that makes sense. So you can do, science subjects. So you can do chemistry or maths if you want to. You can do chemistry and physics. You do not need physics for medicine, as
You don't
someone
need any
asked
physics. Okay.
that. But you do need chemistry. So chemistry is your core
Yeah.
kind of science that you will need. And someone asked if psychology. So my psychology does relate to medicine in various ways. We have psychiatry rotations, etc. My job as a GP, I see lots of psychiatry patients, and psychology kind of gave me that background. But it's not that. I think when you have, so for me, my reasons behind why I did I enjoyed psychology as a subject, but you do need something that is not as labor intensive as the 2 core sciences are. So biology and chemistry, if you do end up doing biology or chemistry, or physics or chemistry, will probably take up more of your time. So the third subject, often I tell to students that I coach and mentor, is choose it strategically. Things that you enjoy but wouldn't necessarily have to spend a lot of time revising, because you should be focusing on the other 2 core subjects, which may be a bit harder. So that was that.
Okay. Yeah, cheers. Thank you so much for that. I'm not going to ask Taslim the exact same question, because I think people have gathered the key things you need is definitely chemistry and some other solid subjects to go into medicine. What I am going to, again, I'm not, you called E. Yeah, so you said, do you need talking skills? Okay. So what there are a lot of skills you need, not just academics to become. I think I'm going to ask you that, Tislima. Is being a bookworm good enough? Is being good at your academics good enough?
Being the bookworm, which I would unfortunately describe myself as, probably, especially during my school years, I was always kind of the academic. I was never really that good at art. I'm completely probably sound in contrast to Farah. I used to absolutely hate anything to do with drawing and art. I was like, give me anything to read and memorize, I will do that. So for me, that bit was easy almost. Like I used to almost enjoy the exams, because I know if I put the work in, I'll go in, I'll know the questions and I'll get it done. and most of the time, like obviously you have to get good results, and like any child, you get nervous about exams, but I did that. You just revise and you do it, and you get the results. So you do definitely need to be academic. You need to be able to have the patience, the attention span to sit there, read something, learn it, to embed it, and to remember it, and having, being able to remember and apply things as well to the questions. But when it comes to become, so that might get you your A-level grades, you'll get that far, but doesn't necessarily mean you'll be successful in a medical school application. So I know plenty of people who are probably cleverer than me, who have done as well as better than me in grades, but actually they didn't get into medical school, and it's a very competitive university course to kind of get into. So everybody who applies will already be at that benchmark. They will have the A stars, they will have the grades. You've got to have the other things to set you apart. So in terms of talking skills, I think communication skills, what other skills do you have to offer, how you interact with people, that is absolutely crucial. Because if you're applying to medical school, you probably already know that you're probably decent academically, otherwise you probably wouldn't bother applying. So actually, when you're at that decision, am I going to apply for medical school, those points about A-level grades, you just know you've got to get them, but that's kind of it. It's communication skills, being able to talk to people 100%. If you can't talk to somebody, you will not be a good doctor, because how are you going to get the information and how are you going to actually help someone?
I would say 70% of our job is talking skills.
Yeah.
And just
a lot of it is,
from the get-go.
Once you're actually doing the job of an experienced doctor, actually all the sciencey stuff, it's not the main part. It's all about how you approach a problem, how you think, how your problem solving skills, your communication with your team, the communication, your writing skills, all the things that's transferable from any career and any background. And I think a lot of people may know this if they're looking into careers, but you have to write a personal statement when you apply to university. They don't want to know about what courses you're doing, because that's a tick box exercise, and they don't want to know what grades you're getting. They want to know what kind of a person are you, what have you done during your teenage years or whatever, that's shown your personality, has shown initiative, has shown that you care about people, has shown that you're interested, and you can be outside of the typical box, because they know you're academic, otherwise you would not be applying to medical school, but they want to know you as a person.
So as a medical school interviewer, I'll say the main thing, I don't even ask anyone about their academics, because I know you're there and have gotten an interview because you've gotten through the academic hurdles. All I care about is, how do you de-stress when you're not studying? What your main motivation towards choosing such a lifelong career, and will you be a good enough student for the university? What skills do you have? So not just communication skills, do you have listening skills? Do you have leadership skills? So what did you do in sixth form? What did you do in school? Did you run any charity events? What work experience have you done? How many people have you spoken to before coming to the making a decision of being a doctor and applying? So those are the things that medical schools are looking for, interviewers are looking for admission, rather than just your academia. I would say, if you want to get into a career like medicine, obviously focus on getting the grades, but also focus on how you can be a more wholesome individual, a well-rounded wholesome individual.
And I think some of the examples you mentioned, you don't have to be an Olympian by the time you're 17. It's nothing big. It's about taking small steps. So you're at school, little things that we did, even from primary school. That's why I said, I think some people just naturally know what kind of people they are. So I've always been the one to kind of want to be involved in things. So I've always been volunteering myself for the lead role in any kind of play at school. School councils from when I was at primary school. That then transforms and becomes bigger. So you go to secondary school, you do your prefect. Like, you need to put yourself forward. And if you're not that type of person who doesn't like doing those things, I think it might be difficult to kind of have enough information to be putting on your application. They have student societies, things like that. You've got to have the confidence in yourself to put yourself forward, to sell yourself, to do things and be a leader essentially, and be involved in things outside of your core subjects. And it can be within the school. You know, you're 16, 17, you're 17 years old when you're probably going for medical school interviews. No one's expecting anything crazy. It's what is within the remit of a 17-year-old, and have they shown initiative to be able to
So
do
as a
that?
17-year-old in first year of sixth form, I was the student president. It was an elected role. So other students in my sixth form had 2,000 students, and it was an elected role to make me a student president essentially. And a lot of my interview focused on my role as a student president
And the
how
skills you gain in these things,
and
you carry them forward. So
correct.
so yes, student presidents, or just being part of the committee.
Part of the committee,
So
being a head girl, head
we could
boy.
like clearly say that you need to do other things beyond the
100%.
classroom. You need to be an all-rounder. You can't just be good at your academics, because it's not going to get you through it might just get you through the initial application process, but it's not going to get you through the get you into medical school. So what I would suggest, what I always recommend to people is make sure you are doing things other than just academia. Make sure you are much more of an interesting person, not just like everybody else.
Somebody's asked what pursuits would you recommend to acquire some of these skills, and I think because we're on the topic, it's easier to almost cover it. So, you know, what other things did I do? So, in terms of how you're correct, you're not going to be able to, not everybody's going to be able to get the work experience in a doctor or a hospital. And to be honest, I don't think that shows the extra.
Probably not necessary, no.
I think it almost gives you less to write about, because you know what you're going to gain. Yes, I think it's definitely important to speak to professionals to know that you want to apply for medical school, but in terms of showcasing your initiative, your skills as a leader, your skills as a team worker, you know, things like that, you've got to do the stuff. So I think like any sports interest, definitely keep them up. You know, try and become like a coach if you can. Get some like little extra qualifications. I know people do different things. They're into swimming. They might get a lifeguard qualification.
Duke Elder.
Duke of Elder. Sorry.
No, it's not called Duke Elder. Duke Elder is a different exam. Sorry.
What's
it called? Duke of Edinburgh, sorry.
Duke of Edinburgh.
Duke is a medical school.
No worries, guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move you on, because I've got quite a few questions that I want to ask, and I don't want to get bogged down. But by the way, guys, for those of you that are watching online, I know we've got a huge amount of people watching on YouTube. Just drop us a comment. Are you finding it quite helpful? In the comments, just write down helpful or not helpful. Are you finding this helpful? If you are, just write it down in the chat. It will also give us a bit of a break as well.
If you're not finding it helpful, please tell
let us know.
what can we do.
Tell us what you want.
I think the key what I want to say is sometimes it's hard to organize these things, but actually, no matter what school you go to, I'm 100% confident. If you look for it, their opportunities are there. And a lot of mine came directly from teachers and schools. And just took the opportunity. So going on residential trips, being involved in any little extra thing, and it leads on to different things. So you just have to put yourself and forward for everything, and that's
you have to be that sort of that detective. What's going on around your community?
And I think for me, the key thing was I always wanted to be the one doing something. So yes, I did my studying, but as much of a bookworm as I am, I always wanted to be the one doing the other stuff as well. So I'm always putting myself forward. We're having this trip, we're having that. Oh, we need a volunteer for this. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. So I was kind of the keen bean, and that's how you get these things.
Sorry, Arif, I know you want to move on, but a lot of people are asking what subjects, etc. I think rather than getting into specifics, what you can do is you can go and look at entry requirements for medicine in different universities, and it will tell you exactly what you need for that university, essentially. And I would like to reiterate, obviously, you know, we recommend going to like a Russell Group university, etc. But for a career like medicine, it doesn't really matter where you study and what university you get. Medicine is the same everywhere, if that makes sense. Also the same.
You're a doctor. You're a
doctor. At the end of the day, your qualification is the same. So it doesn't matter what university you get into. You can look at the entry requirements. Most universities have the same, very similar entry requirements, and all of those answers would be there.
So I think, the only thing I would say is chemistry 100%, I think, is still basically for everything.
And any other science. And you don't need maths, someone else.
Don't panic. With regards to somebody mentioned year 9, what do you need in year 9? Again, it is the make sure you're doing science.
Triple science, double science.
You've got to pick your sciences.
Triple science. You can do double sciences, so they don't really care that much. But double or triple science, at least your sciences.
I think a lot of people are asking about grades and stuff. Essentially, every grade requirement will be slightly different, but ultimately the rule is you will have to be a very the top end. Now you can't, sometimes when I was applying to university anyway, the grade requirements, you didn't have to have A stars.
It's 3 A's. It's still 3 A's.
It was a little bit lower, but ultimately you want to do the best you can because you know the competition is fierce. So actually when they're filtering through applications, you just want yours to stand out, and you don't want to be the one that's got a B in something when somebody else has an A star, because when they're filtering you, you just want to be the one with the top grade. So because you're competing with those people, the grades may be an A, sometimes even certain subjects they'll accept a B. But in my personal, if I was advising my own child for future, and in terms of my mindset when I was applying, for me it was like you have to try and get the top grade, because you know you're going against the people who are getting those grades. So you've got to look at your competition, and that's the way it is.
Okay, thanks for that, guys. I'm going to move on because is to actually be a doctor. You know, a lot of people just go in blindly. It might be because their parents have said it, or it might be because they had no other option. But what is the reality of being a doctor? What is it actually like? Is it so glamorized as much as you see, in movies, or is it harder than you anticipated? So, who should I ask? Who wants to go with that one? I'll give you the option. The life of a doctor. How is it actually? And just tell us what sort of doctors you are. I know you mentioned it earlier on, but just tell us.
Farah, you can go if you want, but I'm sure we'll have lots of funny stories to share about how glamorous it is.
So life of a doctor, I never thought it was glamorous as such, but I didn't think it'd be as hard work as it is, to be honest, at times. But anyways, so a lot of my training was so a lot of my thoughts, and I think we'll talk about work-life balance, etc., later, or how I practice. It has been influenced by the time of COVID. So I was an ICU and an A&E doctor during COVID, and that whole experience really changed me. So while the world was, there was lots of things going on in the world, but a lot of people did have some time off. I wouldn't call it time off, but people working from home and had some opportunities to rest. It was probably one of the busiest times in my entire life, and I think that changed a lot of my outlook in life. I would definitely say I am a different person post-COVID than I was pre-COVID. And I think someone asked what are the toughest things while being a doctor, and that experience, that whole time in my life, was definitely one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my whole entire life. So I was on the NF2, so basically a junior doctor, so just started, and all of a sudden we're in this worldwide crisis, and I saw a lot of people that look like me and come from very similar background as me die, essentially. So that was a lot to deal with. So it's not always as glamorous. It's very emotive, very emotional at times, and you do have to have the skills to detach yourself from some of those situations and kind of carry on with your work. And COVID has shown us how selfless some doctors are. There was a lot of people that came out of retirement during COVID and came to the forefront to help. And so I think it's important to kind of say that medicine is a lifelong career. When we do go into medicine, it's almost like a lifestyle choice. So I think a lot of the things I do with the thought, of myself representing myself as a doctor, if that makes sense. I would say that it's really important to not lose yourself in a career such as medicine, because it can very easily define you as an individual. And it's important to still be an individual. Lots of things are happening in the NHS and currently in doctors and junior doctors and other training, etc., etc. We can talk more about that later if we do get given an opportunity. So I think lots of tough times in my career for sure. I've definitely found what I want to do. I'm a very varied individual, so I have lots of different roles, as I talked about before. I like to spread my time doing multiple different things. I don't necessarily just do medicine. I do a lot of management. There's a lot of leadership roles I do as well. So that's kind of the balance that I've found. But there's definitely been tough times in my career, and it's not always as glamorous, no. And one of the memorable events was recently, and this never happened. I was always very scared of it. We were going on holiday, and someone was seriously unwell on the flight.
Oh God,
I was the only doctor. actually no one else was there to help. We had to emergency land in a different country.
Wow.
It was all very dramatic. So in that sense, maybe one incident in my life was very dramatic, almost like Grey's Anatomy. But apart from that, just the standard old hard work.
So I'm surprised you've mentioned that, because the exact same thing happened to us. We had a cardiac arrest on a plane back, and we had to do the same thing. And I was the only doctor there, and everybody expected me to revive this person. Unfortunately, out of hospital, cardiac arrest, elderly gentleman who possibly had a heart attack by the sound of things, dealing with his wife in the plane while we're trying to resuscitate him and then make an emergency landing. And unfortunately, he didn't live. Seeing every single person on that plane turn to me, that was probably the hardest and one of the most horrendous experiences of my life. And I had sleepless nights. And I've been in medicine for a while. It takes a lot to stop me from sleeping, because I love my sleep. But that was one thing that I did lose sleep over. So Pete, I think the responsibility you get as a doctor, no matter what stage, what grade, what subspecialty you do, that can be a lot to deal with. And seeing his body taken out of the plane and leave his wife there with us, that was a really hard experience. And I felt the responsibility, to her, to go and speak to her. No one else in the plane had that feeling. It was only me. Because everyone is expecting me. The pilot came to me to lead. Do we need to land? The crew asked me. I had to make that decision. There aren't many careers in the world where you have that level of responsibility. You could be a newly qualified junior doctor on the first day, and you could be in that situation at the age of 24, 25. So the limit.
It's crazy, and it's amazing. I've been in such an implicating process, and having to land a plane, that's not many people get that opportunity.
In terms of
like the I'm going to refer to Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Or if I got it the right way around, but it is. You've got a huge responsibility, not just being a doctor, but throughout your whole life. Even if you're out and about, it's not something that you can just switch off.
It definitely does.
No, you can't switch off.
I think it's a good thing, to have that kind of almost, the way people see you and that kind of respect in certain situations. But actually, it can be a lot to deal with, and people expect so much. And when nobody wants to let people down. And at the end of the day, sometimes people forget that doctors are just normal people living their normal lives, and sometimes you have to disappoint people, and we do. And on my job daily, we have to let people down, and that's probably the hardest thing. I think when people don't get what they want from you, they expect from you. For me, because I love to say yes, and I love to make people happy and please them. When you can't do that, you just won't be able to do that as a doctor. All the time. Actually, most of the time, you probably won't be giving people what they want, and that's one of the challenges.
I think a big role of a doctor is preventative medicine. So I find it quite difficult to have conversation about prevention of diseases with people, because often people come with the expectation, just like Taslima said, that you will be the one to help them and treat them, and there's a magic pill. Yes, unfortunately, you do day to day have to let people down, and there isn't a magic pill where we could just give and prescribe and make people better. But yeah, we do our best, and I'm sure you did your absolute best in that scenario. I'm really sorry for the unfortunate outcome of your patient.
No, thank you.
Somebody's
asked about the strikes.
I was just going to add into that, but
probably touch on that, because
very briefly though, very briefly, and I just want to get a few more.
Sorry, you might be able to shed more light on it, because I know the strikes all kind of came really to a head last year, and I was off on maternity leave, so I
actually went off maternity leave last March.
Okay.
So the strikes are towards the end, actually. But all junior doctors are on strike on strike for pay restoration.
There's more coming, isn't there? I've heard.
Yeah, there's more from the 24th to 28th of February. The ongoing strikes, and we're striking because over the years our pay has been cut by 33%. So in a grand scheme of things, the plumbers aren't getting paid less, or someone in the in whatever field aren't getting paid less, but why did we have to take that pay cut? So essentially, we're not asking for a pay rise or anything of that sort. What doctors are asking for is a pay restoration. Just pay us exactly the same in terms of, you know, matched with inflation and what we deserve to be paid, really. And that's what the strikes are all about. It is not a selfish decision. Doctors are not leaving wards unsafe or anything of that sort. Senior doctors such as consultants, etc., they're still manning the wards. There's locum doctors, specialty doctors, they will still be on the wards. So there's no unsafe scenario in that sense. But if you can, please join you know, fellow junior doctors in this strike. We train for years and years and years, and we deserve to be paid what we owe.
It's not all about pay. I think it's the working conditions. So the NHS is the best and probably the only amazing thing about this country, in my opinion. Unfortunately, due to whatever reasons, leaders, politicians, I don't know what, but it's just not getting the funding, the direction, what the patients need, what people in this country need, unfortunately, is being stripped away from them bit by bit. And it's not just patients, it's the working condition of the doctors as well. We're at the front line. We have to face the people. We have to tell them, no, you can't have this, no, you can't do this. And it all falls on us. But actually, we're not the ones making those decisions. We're not holding the purse strings. We don't make decisions about what clinics are not going to no longer be funded, they're now private, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. And there is no doubt in my mind there is enough money in this country. It's just where they decide to spend it, and they are not spending it on important things like health. And I think that's the other thing. The reason junior doctors are striking is not completely about money. The conditions we have to work with, the lack of resources, which you saw during COVID, absolutely shambolic.
What we'll do then, guys, hopefully that has touched on the question that you asked about. Yeah. Because I don't want to really get into this because we want to aspire the young kids. Obviously, we can have that discussion later on. So, what I want to get from you guys, or what our students or all the young people that are watching, is for them to know what sort of skills and qualities do they need as a doctor, because they to apply to become a doctor, or to become a doctor, what are the key skills they need? What should they be writing in their applications? Off you go, whoever wants to answer that one, and we'll keep it quite brief because we do.
Okay, I think we touched on it quite a lot.
Yeah, we talked about communication.
You know, with the personal
what would you say is the three key bits? I'll reframe the question then. What's the three
key skills
that you would say? Key skills, yeah.
Okay, so I would say leadership skills for sure.
Leadership skills.
Yeah, good communication skills and problem-solving skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think I actually wrote something down, I think, for that. It was essentially, you need to be interested in people. If you don't like people, yes, you know, I think I always say medicine is actually for absolutely any kind of personality. You will find as you go deeper into your career, there are some subspecialties where maybe you don't have to have patient-facing roles. So you will find your niche no matter who you are, but there's only a very small handful of those kind of jobs. And to get there, you will have to speak to people, interact with people, and be able to jump through all the hoops to maybe one day, if you absolutely never want to see a person, you can be the pathologist who deals with essentially specimens and maybe not have much patient interaction, but your communication skill will always be there. It's communication is not just speaking, it's how you write, and it's how you kind of just send a message to whether it's your colleagues, patients, the general public. But you have to be interested in people. You have to want to know about them. You have to want to make things better for them. And I'm not saying cure them or, you know, make them healthier. It's about wanting to do even the smallest thing to make them feel better. You have to be interested in people. So you have to be a people person. I think for me, that's what a doctor is.
Yeah, a compassionate, approachable person, individual as well. So all of those kind of skills.
Okay, perfect. You know, that's really helpful. That it's something that it'll allow them to know whether medicine is for them, rather than going into it without knowing. So that's good. Thanks for that, guys. What I also want to do is, I know there's loads of questions coming in, and we're not going to get a chance to go through everyone's questions, but in like 2 minutes, I am going to do a question and answer session. So if you've got any questions, write them down, and you can share it in the chat, and I'll of those. But I want to go back to leadership again, because I think that's a very important one. having somebody to mentor you or guide you in the right direction, ideally somebody in that particular field. So with the viewers, what I want to share with you is something that we are hoping to launch, and with the help of our doctors. And this is really small, it's not come up on very well on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you what it is. So as part of, let me get my face back again. So as part of one of our plan to inspire and get more people in different professions, we've decided that we're going to select one person to be mentored by one of our two lovely doctors. And by that, what I mean is opportunity to get their guidance to help you go through the application process, learn about the interviewing skills, get that support so that you can make it to medical school, or you've got the best possible chance to get there. So what we're doing is we're opening this out to anybody, ideally in year 11 or year 12, possibly if you get it, that's great. If not, maybe next time. We're going to select one person to be mentored, and this is an opportunity that you're not going to get anywhere else, because time is very precious to like our guests. So they're going to take that time to mentor you. If you are interested in this, what I'm going to suggest you do is go on our website, www.aimhightuition.net/medicine, and on there you'll see let me see if I can find it. Yeah, if you go on the website and then if you scroll all the way down, there's a form that says mentorship form. So when you go on there, you can apply to be a mentor, to become mentored by one of our doctors. Don't miss this opportunity, guys. If it's something that you want to get into and you're serious about, go apply for that opportunity. This will be the first step in the direction that you want to pursue if it's medicine, because there'll be plenty of applications that you have to do in your life. So go onto the website, aimhightuition.net/medicine, scroll down, find the link that says mentorship, and try and fill that in. We are expecting quite a lot of people applying, so we won't get back to everybody. If you're successful, within 2 weeks, we'll give you a call or an email to say that you've been successful, and we'll go through the next stages with you. But for now, just apply, and that will definitely help. Okay. So far, guys, it's been fantastic. We are going to be running over time a little bit, which I anticipate, because you guys have been sharing so many gems that will be helpful to our lovely audience. So what I want to do is I want to open it up to our viewers. So question and answer session. So if you have any questions,
there's a couple of good questions about the challenges, and I know you want to touch on that. And there's so much.
Let me overlay this so then hopefully we can see. So if you've got any questions, write it down, and then everybody will be able to see.
I think that was something we wanted to cover, but maybe haven't touched on. But somebody's asked that question: challenges you faced and how you overcome them. Anything that you didn't expect from your career. Things like that. Somebody keeps asking about the anesthetics, and I think that would be something probably not for this show. We don't think it's probably relevant to this because this is a career medicine. That would be something very specific to that particular patient. So I don't think it'd be fair to answer that. So really sorry if you've had a bad experience, but hopefully
we'll start off with the first one you mentioned. If you could read the question now. I think I've lost it on my side. Do you have the question?
Yeah, so it says, I think I remember it anyway. What were the challenges you faced in college and
and how did you overcome them?
And then another one is there something happened in your career that you didn't expect or something? For me, like I said, up until the process of applying to medical school, once you know what you're doing, actually it's probably, I'd say, one of the easiest in terms of what you do and how you get there. It's kind of set in stone. There isn't a lot of role for going wrong. You know what grades you need, you know what subjects you need to do, you know that you need to show personal statement, apply to university. It's very, very, it's out for you. Once you get into medical school, almost that doesn't change, And most people who go into medical school, there's very, very few who do not graduate. So if you've made it into medical school, you are most likely going to be a doctor. It's you have to put the work in. It's not easy. I remember when on the very first lecture I had as a student in medical medical school. It was the introduction lecture, and that line still, again, there's certain lines in my life that stick in my head, and that's one of them. The professor doing the lecture, he basically said, this is the last day of your life where you can say that you have nothing to do or no work to do. And then the other thing he said to me, said to us all was, you are entering into a profession. You are no longer like any other person in the lay public. From this day onwards, whatever you do, you will have to think twice, because you are, like Farah said, you are representing the profession, and that I think can be challenging, kind of detangling your identity as a doctor versus just a normal person. And that, in terms of challenges in college, I think college for me was pretty straightforward. I would say challenges in my career is probably when I had to be an actual adult. So I lived at home, went to university, did college. So the normal challenges of, passing exams and stuff. But the real challenge is when you actually have to, for me, was when I left home, got married, kids, and then realizing, oh my God, I need a life and I'm doing this job. And I think finding that balance, finding what's important to me, what's not, how am I going to prioritize things, and discovering my identity then as an adult was probably the most challenging thing for me, because it's not just coming home and revising anymore. It's about, I've got to think about the commute. I've got to think about, just general life stuff, which I never had to do, which a lot of people kind of maybe take for granted, and I know I did. And for me, that challenge was the biggest thing. The good thing I would say though is a lot of people always think, oh, medicine as a doctor, as a woman, are you going to have time for family? It might be challenging. In fact, having worked through everything and come out the other end, I would say probably medicine is one of the best careers for anybody, because the opportunities you have and the chances you get to work part-time, to take time out, there's so many facilities there. I would say never let that kind of thing put you off. So it doesn't matter what you want to do. You can be a mom, you can be a wife, you can be married, you can be a professional, something else. There's facilities there. And that's something I didn't know. It's only because I've had to go through it, explore it, find out the options. That's only how I know. So I think challenges in terms of your life priorities can sometimes be difficult, because, like I said, it's almost becomes your life. But there's help out there and there's facilities out there. And I would say, I didn't know this stuff, but part-time working and things like that is probably one of the best careers for it.
Yeah, 100%. You can definitely achieve a work-life balance if you wish to.
Yeah.
You will make time for what's important to you, and I think that resonates a lot with a lot of doctors. You will make time for the things that matter to you. So medicine is a part of my life, but not my life, if that makes sense. And I have had times where I have thought my job defines me and this is the only thing about me, but I've learned to balance that now a lot better.
I think it's learning that balance. I found that hard. How do I detangle and learn? But for me, that was the challenge, because up until then it was my life, I didn't really have. So when you start getting other hats and other balls to juggle, that's when it can be difficult. But I think for me, I can say safely, I would advise anyone who's thinking of going into this career, never let that fear put you off. Actually, I've been through it. It's manageable, it's doable, there's lots of help.
It's definitely a woman-friendly career, I'll be honest.
I would say it is.
If that puts any
women out there, girls out there.
Yeah.
I think for a woman, it's almost like the perfect career.
Yeah.
And it sounds a bit contradictory to what you might hear, but that's because if you're not in it, you're not engrossed in it, you don't know the details, it can seem like it won't fit in with family life. Well, actually, there's very few careers like medicine where it can be so family friendly. It depends what kind of life you want. What is your choice how you want to do it. But if you want to have a family or you want to do other things, you have the freedom, the flexibility to do so, and the ability. Listen, probably not many jobs I know. I can probably count on like one hand of which jobs would let you do that, and medicine would top it.
Okay, that's good. Thanks for that comprehensive answer. Do we have any other questions? We've got quite a few. Like I said, I'm not going to go over anyone, but this one's quite intriguing. I'm going to ask you this one. I don't know how to answer it, but Mujahid Khan, you've said, what do doctors eat? And you said, I mean, good quality food. Like, sorry, can you elaborate on that? It was just, I was just a bit intrigued what you meant by that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think you should watch. I don't know if you've got Netflix. Watch the program called "You Are What You Eat."
Yeah.
It's a very informative program, and you learn a lot from it. And yeah, it talks a
Yeah.
lot about
I
diet
think,
and healthy eating and preventative food. So
yeah.
yeah.
But I
Yes,
think it goes back to the thing I was saying. People forget doctors are people.
Yeah.
They're just normal people. They eat what you eat. They do what you do. Just like the normal people you meet, there's all sorts of different types of them. So
I don't think my diet is any different to yours, Mujahid, at all.
it's yeah, we're just normal people, to be honest.
I think someone asked, can GPs specialize to be other
Oh yeah,
consultants?
I was going to
I would
mention
like to
very
answer that if that's okay.
yes.
So I'm just going to talk you through the training pathway or the pathway that doctors get set on. So you have your medical school. The medical schools are either 5 or 6 years. So it was 6 years for me. I took a year out of medical school and did another degree. I did a master's in research in tissue engineering and regenerative medicine because I wanted to be a surgeon. I am no longer pursuing that career pathway, but I'll tell you what you do need to do in order to be a surgeon or consultant, etc., etc. So after you finished, you have mandatory 2 years of training. We call them foundation training. So that's foundation year 1, foundation year 2. You can go through the basic route of foundation training, but there's also specialized foundation training pathways like foundation training, which we call academic foundation training. So you can do very early on in your career, you can do research, you can do leadership, you can do management. So after you've done your 2 years of foundation training, lots of people take breaks, then they become locum doctors, do other things, or people go into training. So now when we talk about training, is we're training for specific careers at the end or specific roles that you will be defined as for the rest of your career as doctors. So that's either GP, so that's a set career training program that you enter, a consultant of any sort, so that's either I don't know, a cardiologist, a respiratory physician, an endocrinologist, like any of them. So that's a consultancy route, or you can go down the surgical route. Okay, so there's different training pathways for all those 3 different paths. So GP, consultant, surgeons. So now it takes about, if you go through everything without any breaks, about nine years to become a surgeon, about 8 to 9 years to become a consultant of whatever field. But some consultancy training programs like radiology is shorter, so 4 years. A GP for most people, it takes about 3 to 4 years to become a GP at the end. Lots of people take breaks, etc., which end up taking them a lot longer. You can also do all of these training programs with other specialist interests, for example. So you can be an academic GP trainee. For example, I'm a GP training with special interest in women's health. So I am training to do coils and implants and stuff, and I've done extra another qualification in order to specialize in women's health. So even as a GP, your role is so varied. So I do lots of sexual health clinics, for example, consultations on reproductive health and all of that. So all careers are varied, lengths of training are varied, and all the way till the end, until you've finished your training, you're actually known as a junior doctor. So your average junior doctor isn't necessarily a 24-year-old and 25-year-old. They're often in their 30s and 40s, and they're still in training in order to be a surgeon, consultant, or a GP.
So yeah, can I touch on that as well? That was really, really great because I feel like that's something I had absolutely no clue about. I went through medical school and I was always the one like focusing on just the next step, get through the next step, get through the next step. So up until I finished medical school, and then I was like, right, I just need to get through foundation years. And then it was after foundation years, I was a bit like, God, even now I still don't know, because it can be quite complex. But like I said, having gone through it, and if I just share a little bit about kind of what I did, then you do understand in a lot more detail. So as Farah said, you do your medical school 5 or 6 years, then you do your foundation training. And yeah, the 3 strands. So for me personally, that was the bit where it becomes difficult. You're making a decision about what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, and the training pathway is very rigorous, and it can be a long, long time. So for me personally, I, like Farah pretty broad, open-minded. I wasn't really set on one thing, but I ended up doing eye surgery training. I did that for 2 years, and I kind of had to reevaluate certain things, like I said, as I was trying to figure out exactly kind of what I'm wanting from life and how to balance everything. And I decided then to switch to GP training. And when I switched to GP training, I realized there's so many people who've done so many different things and they're now becoming a GP, or actually GPs and then going on to being lots of different things. So the best thing about GP, I think, is the fact that it's actually so broad, you can be anything. And this is probably the only time in my life now, I'm coming almost to the end of my training, where I don't have a set plan. I don't know. Someone asked me, what are you going to do? I know that I'm going to be a doctor. But what am I going to actually do? Yeah, I will work in a GP surgery. I'm going to be a GP. That's what I've trained to do. But actually, what am I going to do with my life? You can do absolutely anything. So, I'm probably going to combine some of my eye surgery experiences. I'm going to maybe do something with that. As Farah mentioned, leadership and medical education, that's another thing. So you will see all mishmash of doctors from different specialties doing all sorts of stuff. But the training pathway can be quite complex. And I think a lot of people watching, it's good to just have an awareness of that. Don't get too bogged down with it, because your aim is, do you want to be a doctor and go to medical school? It is worth kind of dipping into what specialties there are and what might be involved. But essentially, it's not a short journey. And you will, when somebody said to me younger, like, are you sure you want to be 40 and doing exams? At the time, it felt like, oh my God, that's not realistic. But actually, yes, you could well be 40 and still have exams and revising and still be a junior doctor. It's not easy. But the experience, the experience you get, the people you meet, the things you do, it kind of supersedes
everything else.
Everything.
All of the challenges.
You're not an average 40-year-old, a junior role. You might be called a junior doctor.
We could, we can at least say that you'll be studying for the rest of your life.
You'll be studying, you'll be learning, and you will
be learning, which isn't a bad thing. Which clearly it isn't a bad thing, because as human beings,
it's honestly, I can say the experiences you have and the things you see and do is incomparable. And no matter what you end up eventually, ultimately doing, you can be a consultant, you can be a GP, but you can have a million other things that you are doing.
Yeah, million other hats.
And it doesn't matter what kind of doctor you are. It's whatever you want to do, you can do it.
And that journey isn't stagnant for everyone. It doesn't look the same for everyone. You can come up at any various stages. I've had a few years out. I've done leadership. I've actually managed, I've done NHS management and leadership. So I wanted to see how it works behind the scenes. The employers that I work for, how do they run, and why are some things as efficient and some things aren't? So I was actually employed by NHS, like the National Medical Director, and worked with him in order to improve lots of different services. So I've also done that part, and you can do that as a doctor. You can
jump on and off. You jump on and off at different stages.
There's definitely flexibility, and
that enriches your experience.
You can have a full year, I think Farah, you is it a fellowship?
Yeah, I did a fellowship.
You can do formal things like that, where you have a full year of specific things completely unrelated to clinical medicine. You can do little bits of it. People
going to pharma. People
like private stuff, pharmaceutical companies, research. You can put your main training on hold and do things, pick it up. You can, like I said, I've left for now, eye surgery. Is it something I might do again? I don't know, because I'm at a point in my career. It's exciting, but also nerve-wracking, because I've never been at a stage where something's not fully mapped out for me. But ultimately, whatever I want to do is under my decision, kind of under my control. It's about, do I want to do it? Do I want to put the work in? And am I going to pursue it? So, it's essentially, you're in control of your life. You can do whatever you want to do.
Good. Thank you so much for that, guys. We've gone way above time, beyond our time limit, but it doesn't matter, because, you've been sharing so many amazing tips and insight into your life. So I'm really grateful for that. We are going to have to round up. So if you have got any more questions, guys.
I've really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
I could go on forever.
And I could tell going on, which is amazing, which is good. And it shows your passion, both of your passions, it shows. And hopefully our students, the young people that are watching, it inspires them, because the whole point of having this Aim High with Arif show is to inspire the next generation. Today, we've got medics, tomorrow or next time we're going to have people from different career. So we're hoping to get people just as passionate as you both have been onto the show. So what I'm going to ask, firstly, I'm going to say a huge thank you to you both for taking your time out to give back to the community and to the next generation. So thank you so much. I also want to say a huge thank you to all the people that have been with us and are still with us, even though we've gone over by 15-20 minutes. You're still with us and you're still listening and participating. I want to say thank you so much. For those of you that are watching on replay, please make sure you watch the entire thing, because there's literally nuggets of gold in every part of this presentation, and you're going to really benefit, especially if you're wanting to go into a medical field. A few announcements that I need. Please make sure, guys at home, that you make sure you apply to become a mentee for with one of our doctors. So to apply, all you need to do is log on to aimhightuition.net/medicine. There's application form to become mentored or something like that. Apply and make sure you get your applications in as soon as possible, because it's priceless, and hopefully it's going to help you get into medical school if we select you. There's only one place available, so please make sure you get that done quick. The instructions are in the form. Another thing I do want to mention to the guests, if you know any other professions or any other careers you want us to discuss in the future, please write it down in the chat right now. So just write down any other, if you've got any suggestions. It doesn't have to be your standard careers like medicine, accountants, law. It doesn't have to be like that. We're looking for interesting careers as well. So if you're watching and you think you can be one of our guests, please let us know what you can contribute, and we'll be more than happy to have you on the show. I'm hoping to have loads more of these in the future as well. So as we wrap up, I think I've mentioned everything we need to mention. I'm just going to say thank you so much, and have a lovely rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Nice to have a chat, and yeah, definitely.